Decluttering for seniors begins with one powerful question. Why is it that just 1 hour can help you declutter almost everything while others spend a whole week and still can't clear a single living room? Have you ever started tidying up and gave up after 20 minutes? Not because you're lazy, but because there are too many things and you feel overwhelmed. So you move from one spot to another. Then sit down and say, maybe another day. If you're keeping too many things you no longer use, if you feel exhausted stepping into your own space, if you've ever stood in the middle of a room full of stuff and didn't know where to begin, you're not alone. There are millions of American women just like you. Women who once ran an entire household with strength and grace, but now feel worn out, just trying to decide whether to keep or toss an old birthday gift. The truth is, you don't have to clean the whole house at once. You just need 1 hour and the right approach. 1 hour can change everything if you know where to begin and how to decide. I saw it happen with Eunice, 76 years old, a former wedding dress seamstress in San Diego. She lived alone after her husband passed, and the sewing room slowly turned into a space packed with storage boxes, old lace, leftover fabric, memories from hundreds of gowns. Every time she stepped in, she felt heavy, sad, like a whole life was resting quietly in the drawers. She had tried hiring organizers, buying more cabinets to tidy it up, but nothing ever made her feel lighter. Until one morning she placed a timer on the table and said to herself, if this were my final hour in this room, what would I keep in 60 minutes without breaks, without hesitation? She did what she hadn't dared to do for years. And in that hour, she didn't just clean a room. She opened a new chapter. If you've ever found yourself in a room like that, subscribe to this channel because the next parts will help you get started. No matter your age, you didn't buy too much, but things just kept building up over the years. You don't live messy, but there are too many things just sitting there unused. You're not lazy to clean. It's just that every time you open a cabinet, you feel overwhelmed. Then close it again for later. You used to live neat and organized, putting every item in its place, but things changed. Maybe when the kids moved out, when your husband passed, or when your health declined, you no longer go to the market every day, but still keep 3 fabric bags, 5 plastic baskets, and a dozen lidless containers. You don't throw parties anymore, but still keep 2 large pots, 3 baking trays, and 4 boxed glass sets. Studies show the average American home holds over 300,000 items. You don't need to count them, but you feel it every time. You can't find a tiny thing you need. The longer you live in a home, the more likely you are to keep rather than let go. Because every item is tied to someone, to a moment, to a memory. But what no one tells you is the more you keep, the harder it is to feel light. Some things you hold on to just because someone gave them to you, or because they were expensive, or because you're afraid you might need them again. But the truth is, you haven't touched them in 3 years. Solution 1. If it's just there, it should go. Solution 1. Bigger pot. If it's just sitting there, it needs to go. Anything you're keeping just because it's there, or out of guilt, or because you can't bear to toss it, but haven't used it in over a year, should be the first to leave your home. Whether it's fabric, books, gifts, or plastic container. If you haven't touched it in a year, let it go. Was the same. She had 4 pairs of scissors, 16 rolls of unused lace, and 26 boxes of buttons, many still with price tags from 1998. But when she started decluttering, she used this solution. And the more she let go, the lighter she felt. Not because she lost things, but because she found space to breathe and a bit of peace in her heart. If you're also keeping things just because they're there, remember, you don't have to get rid of everything, but you can start with 1 item, then 2, then 10. And in the next part, we'll look at the small things that wear you out every day without you even realizing it. There are things that aren't big, aren't old, and aren't broken, but they tire you out just by being there. It might be a dress hanging too long that you never wear, a pile of plastic bags stuffed in a drawer, a water bottle you don't use, but keep washing when cleaning shelves, a stack of half-finished notes on your table, or an expired spice jar you keep meaning to throw away but never do. These things don't take up much space, but they silently drain your energy every day without you noticing, because they trigger a feeling of unfinished business, things not dealt with, things not ready to release. The more of them you have, the more you delay because you think you can't really call it cleaning until the small stuff is done. But the truth is, if you don't start with the small things, you'll never be able to handle the big ones. Solution 2. The 365-day rule. If there's something you haven't used in the past 365 days, ask yourself honestly, why are you still keeping it? You don't have to throw it out right away, but you do need to see it clearly. Solution 2. The 365-day honesty rule. If you haven't touched it for a whole year, chances are you won't use it in the year ahead either. And if you're not sure you'll use it again, then that item should be a top candidate to let go. One niece followed this rule. She gathered a separate box with items she hadn't touched in a year. From a hair clip jar, a roll of orange thread to scraps of paper from old orders, she didn't toss them. Immediately, she just placed the box outside her sewing room. And after one day, she forgot she ever felt attached. She said, "I felt lighter. Not just because the room looked emptier, but because I no longer had to look at things that made me feel guilty." If you also have a corner filled with things you haven't used in a year, try gathering them into a separate bag. You don't need to throw them away. Just get them out of sight for a few days. And if you don't even remember them, maybe you're ready to live without them. When people start decluttering, most begin with the messiest place, like the living room filled with stuff, the cluttered storage room, or a garage packed with boxes. But the truth is, the messier it is, the harder it is to begin, and the easier it is to give up. You need a simpler place first to feel an early sense of success. But more importantly, you need to start with the places that pose daily risks. The places where you could slip, trip, or lose balance while reaching for something older. Adults don't just need a tidy home. They need a safe home. Because falls are the leading cause of hospital visits for seniors. And sometimes just one slip can take away your independence for the rest of your life. Solution 3. Declutter the most dangerous spot. Solution 3. Start with the most dangerous spot, not the messiest one. Walk around your house and pay attention to the areas you pass through every day. If there's a loose socket, an extension cord lying across the walkway, a slippery rug, a chair too close to the door, or something blocking the bathroom entrance, those are the places to start. Not because they're cluttered, but because they're putting your safety at risk without you realizing. One niece once thought it made sense to begin with the storage room. But after tripping over a small wire in her bedroom during a late-night bathroom trip, she realized some things might not take up much space, but are far more dangerous. She started with her bedroom, then the hallway, then the bathroom, where a shampoo bottle had fallen multiple times. The floor mat kept shifting, and the towel rack was too high to reach in just one morning. She let go of nearly 20 small items and felt much safer moving through her home. If you don't know where to begin, don't start with the room that has the most clutter. Begin with the path you walk every day and ask yourself, is there something here that could cause me to fall? Is there a spot I have to step around each time I pass? Is there something I always have to watch out for during my nighttime bathroom trips? If so, that's your starting point. Some things you keep not because you need them, but because they're tied to an old role in your life. An old work uniform in your closet, a leather briefcase from when you were working, an apron you wore every weekend to cook for your family, a fabric hat from your teaching days. These things aren't messy. They're telling the story of a former version of you, a version that was strong, busy, caring for others, juggling many roles, always putting yourself last. But now you no longer need to wake up early to pack lunch for your husband. You don't need to keep an old juicer just because you used to make smoothies for your kids. You don't need an expensive blazer hanging in the closet as a silent memory. You've changed. But if your belongings haven't changed with you, they'll keep pulling you back to who you used to be. Solution 4. Declutter your identity, not just items. Solution 4. Declutter your old roles, not just your items. Look at everything you're holding on to and ask, does this still match who I am today? If you're no longer the household manager, no longer working 8-hour days, no longer the person running everything for everyone, then you have the right to gently release those roles, not because you're rejecting the past, but because you deserve a living space that reflects who you are. One Eunice kept the first white gown she ever made, the dress that launched her 30-year career, designing wedding dresses. But she let go of many other things, from notebooks with client measurements, outdated fabric swatches to patterns she knew she'd never use again. She said, I don't want to walk into a room and see someone I'm not anymore. I want a room that reflects the life I'm actually living today. If you open your drawers or closet and see items that no longer match your lifestyle, routines, or mood, it might be time to declutter. Not just your space, but the image you hold of yourself within it. Many people start decluttering because someone told them to, because their kids are visiting, because a neighbor made a comment, or because someone once said something that hurt. But if the only reason you're doing this is to please others, you'll always feel pressured, rushed, out of control. You'll make quick decisions, throw things out too fast, and later feel regret, feel empty, feel like someone else made the choices for you. But if you start from a different place where you honestly ask, am I doing this because I want to live easier, lighter, safer? Then everything changes. You won't declutter out of obligation, but as a way to reclaim your space for yourself. Solution 5. Declutter for yourself, not others. Solution 5. Do it for yourself, not others. You can ask, am I keeping this because I'm afraid my child will think I've changed? Am I holding on to that sweater because my grandchild gave it to me even though I've never worn it? Am I keeping that broken blender because my husband used to love it even though he's been gone for years? If the answer is yes, then maybe it's time to listen to your own needs again. You don't owe anyone the burden of keeping everything. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You only need to feel at ease in your own home. Eunice said her daughter once told her to keep all her sketches, but after thinking it over, she chose just a few meaningful ones and donated the rest to a local sewing school. She said, I love my daughter, but this is my room, and I want to walk in here and feel light, not trapped by the past or by expectations. If you're decluttering and it feels heavy, take a break and ask, am I doing this because I want to, or because I'm afraid someone will be disappointed? If you're doing it for yourself, you have the right to go at your own pace with kindness and in a way that feels right. Only then will your home truly belong to you, not to the version of you others expect you to be. Many people give up not because they don't want to declutter, but because they believe it all has to be done at once. They start in the morning dragging chairs, pulling boxes, emptying drawers, but after an hour, their back hurts. After 2 hours, they're exhausted, and by the afternoon, they close the door and never go back. Decluttering doesn't have to be a huge overhaul that drains you. You don't need to clear everything today. You just need to pick one small spot and start the right way. Solution 6. The 15-minute-a-day principle. Solution 6. Just 15 minutes a day. Set a timer and declutter for exactly 15 minutes. Choose just one drawer, one shelf, one corner of a table, or one box. Don't let it spill into other areas. Don't open more than 3 containers at once. Don't let yourself be pulled into long chains of thoughts. You don't need to decide everything. Just decide a little once a day. Eunice started with a box under the desk. Inside were a few spools of thread, some fabric, an old button container, and yellowing paper scraps. She set a 15-minute timer and worked only within that time. Not more, not less. She said, When there's a time limit, I stop overthinking. I pick something up, ask if I still use it. If not, I set it aside when the timer goes off. I stop. Get up. Have water. What? No pushing further. Just 15 minutes a day. And the strange thing was, after just 1 week, she had cleared a quarter of a room she once feared to enter. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you look around and don't know where to begin, try a timer and 15 minutes. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Because once you see that you've cleared one corner, you'll have enough motivation for the next. And gradually, your home will change. Not in one day, but in rhythm with your real life. Not all items make you feel regret. Some are not very important, not very old, no longer used, but still give you guilt every time you see them. It could be the fabric you meant to sew into a shirt, the book you intended to read but never opened, the gift box you bought for someone but never gave, the seed packet you meant to plant but forgot until the season passed. They don't make your home messy, but they do weigh on your mind a little each time you see them. These are unfinished plans, forgotten intentions, and promises you made to yourself but never fulfilled. Solution 7. Clear out guilt items. Solution 7. Declutter your guilt corner. The things that make you feel bad, even though you no longer need them. You don't have to throw them away right away. Just ask yourself, if I didn't keep this today, would I feel lighter or sadder? If you feel lighter, place it in a separate box. You can write a small note with it, stating what you once wanted to do or hope to complete. Then tell yourself, I once had the intention to do something good, and that is enough. One Eunice once had a box of special lace. She planned to make a beautiful handkerchief for her daughter's wedding. But the wedding passed 10 years ago. Her daughter now has 2 young children, and the handkerchief was never finished. Every time she saw it, she didn't feel love. She only felt guilt. So, one day she wrapped the fabric, wrote a small note thanking herself for the kind intention, and removed it from her space. She said, I no longer have the handkerchief, but I still hold the love in my heart. If you have items that bring guilt, remember, you don't need to complete everything you once planned. You only need to be grateful you once had the intention to do good. And sometimes that's enough to let go without feeling lost. Some homes haven't changed much, but feel easier to live in because hundreds of items have been cleared out. Some rooms aren't painted new, but feel brighter because old things no longer block the light. Some people don't move to a new place, but begin a new life just by rearranging what they need and releasing what no longer fits who they are. When you let go of an item, you're not just removing an object. You're creating space for peace, comfort, new habits, deeper sleep, and mornings where you don't wake up feeling surrounded by pressure. Solution 8. A fresh start without leaving home. Solution 8. Pakpwe. Same home, new self. You don't need to move. Just carefully choose again within the home you already live in. Ask yourself, if I just moved into this house today, what would I choose to keep if I were a lighter version of myself? Would I still need the things that take up space now? And if I were starting fresh, what kind of space would I want to live in? That question will show you what truly deserves to stay. Eunice didn't change houses, but she changed the position of her table, removed high shelves, folded away unused fabrics, and kept only what helped her breathe easier. She placed a vase of fresh flowers by the window, a few family cards on the shelf, and hung a small lamp in the reading corner. She said, every time I walk into the room now, my heart feels brighter. Not because the room is new, but because I chose to keep only what made me feel like myself. If you've been living in the same house for a long time and feel buried under your belongings, remember you can reinvent yourself within the most familiar space. You don't need a bigger house or newer things. You just need to choose more carefully. Keep less and live more deeply with what truly matters. If you've listened this far, maybe you too have stood in a familiar room with a heavy heart. Maybe you've delayed. Maybe you've held on to too many things because you weren't ready to let go. And maybe, like me, you're ready to live lighter little by little. The act of decluttering isn't just about rearranging stuff. It's how we gently examine ourselves and choose with care. If any part of this made you feel a bit lighter, made you feel like maybe you could begin today, then please subscribe to this channel, because every time you'll receive one small step close enough, real enough to walk beside you on your journey to a simpler, more peaceful life. Thank you for staying until the end of this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next.